Welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. Today's What's Up Wednesday, and for a change of pace, I thought I'd bring you along and scare you. I cleaned out my sewing machine today, and I thought it might be time for you to clean your sewing machine out too. It's one of those jobs that we kind of either put off or we tend not to think about a lot. But regular dusting of our machine can extend the life tremendously. A lot of issues that you have with your stitches or your different basic machine functions can all be tied down to dust. Now, I use a lot of cotton batting under my fabrics and I quilt that. And in doing so, that dust, it falls all down inside that machine. And I had been thinking for about a week about doing this tutorial, well, not tutorial, but this little What's Up Wednesday, and just kind of taking our machines apart as a reminder for you all. But there again, I kept putting it off, pushing it down the road. Who wants to stop and clean when you can sew? I mean, dishes or anything, we want to sew. But this morning I started sewing. The stitches were fine. But my cutter, I have an electronic machine and I push a button and it snips the thread. Well, it was only snipping the top thread. So that was my indicator that there was dust clogging up my cutter. So I knew if it was there, that it was somewhere else too. So you stick around with me today and you get to see the monster inside my machine because, yeah, it's really that bad. So I want to thank you guys for showing up today. Hang around and you can laugh, okay? I'll let you laugh at me because I really should have done this a long time ago. But okay, let's go take a look and see what I've been up to. So this morning I went to sew. I was actually working on this. Let me see if I can show you here. I was quilting all these little lines, and then all of a sudden my thread cutter didn't work, and I knew now I knew days ago that I should have cleaned this machine. And we all tend to put these things off, but let's take a look. I'm going to raise my camera up a bit here as soon as I figure this out. Goodness. Well, anyway, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut the thread from the machine. And you might wonder why I cut my thread up here, but did you know that's better for your machine when you unthread your machine? You take your thread out here, and then you pull your thread from under here in the same direction, okay, that you threaded it. Because otherwise it can take lint and back it up through your machine. So for the purposes today, I'm going to shut my machine off. They say to unplug it, but I'm good. I'm unplugged. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is look into this area, which tends to get very dusty. And I'm using a microfiber cloth. You won't find me using them often, but this is one of the things I use them for. And I just clean out whatever I can see in this area. It tends to get a little bit linty from the thread, but as you can see, that didn't take very long to clean that out. Wipe off the machine. And what I'm going to show you next is the tools that I get out for cleaning my machine. Now, this is the screwdriver that came with this machine, but this came with a different machine. And that has been a pretty handy thing for the little screws that are down on the throat plate. And I always have out different screwdrivers. This actually came with my 1954 machine. And I have this little wire brush. If you have a pipe cleaner, that works the same way. And then I have a couple of little brushes, whatever you have that's handy. I sometimes have a few Q-tips. And this that came with my machine, that is, in my opinion, pretty much useless. But anyway, we're going to show you this. So I have my walking foot on. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove my walking foot. So remove whichever foot you have on your machine. I'm going to take that screw right out of there. More screws. There is a lot of machinery going past our place this morning, so if you hear it, I apologize. Goodness, that did not want to come off. Okay, and if you take your screws out like I do, make sure you put them in a safe place because you can't easily replace those. And I always wipe down. Now you're going to find a lot of dust and dirt there. Let's take our machine needle out because at the same time that I clean, I always change my needle. It's a good habit to get into. You know, I always read they said at the beginning of every project. Well, I don't do it quite that often, but I should do it more often than what I do. Going to tilt this up and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Now I can see underneath here, I can see that there is dust coming out of there. So I'm going to lower that. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there is a great big chunk of dust on there, okay? So we're going to clean what we see. Get a little bit proactive and put the brush up in there a little bit where you can reach. I mean, definitely don't like ram it up in there, but you definitely want to get a hold of that dust that's in there. I have quite a bit coming down. Now, this is where you could use a pipe cleaner, but in here are your rollers that your thread goes through. And if you get this inside there in that roller, you can clean that. But basically, see, I'm just running it down through where these lines are, just trying to catch any bit of dust that's there. And I'm going through the top and around, just going anywhere that the thread goes, I'm trying to clean. Okay, I'm going to take the bobbin out. I'm talking to you guys and I forget where I put my stuff. So now I am going to unscrew my throat plate. And I am embarrassed to say how long it has been since I have cleaned my machine. But the good thing about that is knowing this, it's going to give you a good indication of what they look like when they shouldn't look that bad. Does that make sense? Don't ever let yours get this bad. So this is your reminder to clean your machine and change your needle. You know, we depend on our sewing machines for all this fun and enjoyment. Remember to put your screws in a safe place. We depend on these machines, and you know, sometimes we'll get upset because we have a stitch that won't work right, or sometimes it will skip stitches and we're like, oh wow, did we thread it wrong, or what did we do? You know, most times I have found it's because my machine is dirty or there's a piece of lint trapped somewhere. And it's true for any type of machinery, but you need to take care of what you've got, and it will work fine for you as long as you do that. You know? Oh boy, there I dropped it. I had a little cutting mat underneath there, and it caught it. Good thing. Okay, I'm gonna move this a little closer. Let's see. I'm going to pop this up. Are we ready for the horror show? Oh boy. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. Whoops, a little too much. Can you see all my dirt? Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm going to sit you right there. And now, oh my goodness, look at that. Holy cow. Now see, this really, I should have never let this go this long. But like I said, I knew I had, so I knew it was a good time to remind you guys not only to clean it out, but to let you see how bad I really can get, because I get busy sewing and then I forget to do it until something doesn't work right. Now, this might bring you to the question of canned air or not. And I am going to say not, okay? Have I used it before? Yes, I have. Not on this machine, and I never will. Wowzers. Look at all that dust. I do quilt a lot with cotton, and I think that that lint gets in there. And see, this is where my thread cutter is, down in here. This is what cuts my thread when I hit my little button over here. This is the thread cutter down in here. And when that gets full of lint, it's not going to cut thread. It's not going to cut anything because it's full of dust. Now, okay, but back to the discussion of the canned air. I have done it before and it didn't seem to bother my machine at the time. But then I started having trouble with my machine. This is where I use a Q-tip to try to get down, and I just kind of put it down in these places. Goodness, I'm trying to maneuver my lights. Okay, so all I'm doing is twisting like this, rolling underneath there. Look at how much I keep coming up with, and I haven't even lifted up this yet, which I'm going to do next. But that's a lot of dirt down in there. You know, any of you on the Facebook group, if you want to clean yours and post your pictures so I don't quite feel as bad as I probably should. You know, we're all going to have dust. That's the thing. We get working away on our machines and we forget to do our regular maintenance, and we really should do it. You know, I should have a certain day of the month that I just dedicate to cleaning my machine. But I haven't done that yet. Maybe I'll get better about it now that I've filmed it, and I should be embarrassed with how bad I let it get. Whoops. Put that right on there. Okay, so I have used canned air. I will never use canned air again because it actually can put moisture into your machine. Okay. Now, if you are not used to taking your bobbin piece in and out, I would suggest that you take a photo of how this lays down in there, because sometimes, I mean, even I know how to put them back in, but it can be tricky. So just be careful of how you take that out and remember it. Now, I use a Q-tip in here. You're going to get a lot of dust in here. Oh boy, did I ever. Look at that. That's an amazing amount of dust. Clean it out good. Look at all that. See, it's no wonder sometimes that our machines don't run right. Look at that. Holy cow. This is like a science experiment inside my sewing machine. And I showed you guys on YouTube. See how much I love you guys? I'll even show you all my embarrassing things here. So I'm just twirling this, making sure it picks up everything. Gets down in there. And I'm going to take a brush on the bottom side, take away all the dust. Now, there are other routine maintenance that you can do on your machine. I'm not going to show you that today. This is just real basic stuff here. This is, don't be like me. Don't ever do this. Don't ever let it get this bad. You know, what monster is lurking in Marie's machine? Okay. Oh, wow. I found some more dust there. Okay, so I would not do canned air, but I would take a vacuum cleaner right here and just hold it over the area kind of where my hand is and let it suck up any extra dirt that's there. And I will do that later. I don't need to do it on camera. You guys don't need to hear my loud machine. I'm going to put it back together for now, and then later I will vacuum it. Oh, I forgot. Don't forget these little grabber, I go to say the name and I forget, the little teeth down in there. And that is another place for your pipe cleaner or whatever. You run that in between there. I had one that was so bad one time. You see that little bits and pieces? I had it so bad that there was no visible marks between them, like these little channels. They weren't even there because they were so full of dust. So it's no wonder that my machine wasn't grabbing, you know, because that has to grab underneath and grab your fabric. And sometimes if it's not pulling along well, here you go. This is the problem, you know. Okay, so while I'm right here, I'm going to change my sewing machine needle. And these brushes I'm using, these are just old crafty paintbrush kind of things that I've had. And one of them, I went down cellar and got it from my husband's desk. I don't know what he was using it for, but he no longer has it. Okay, I'm going to put this back together and I'll be right with you. Almost forgot, we need to clean the bottom of the throat plate. That gets dusty because all that dust that was underneath there certainly has to have a place to go. And I always put the needle on last, the new needle. And these are needles, I bought a bunch of these. They're not bad, really. They're 14.90s. They're the size I use the most. I bought them on Amazon, I'm going to say a couple of years ago. And oh my land, there was just so many in the package. It was a great deal. And I bought them and I have not had any problem with these. And I do like a good quality needle, so you know, I'm not saying they're best of the best, but they're not cheap. I don't have any issues with my stitches with these. Alrighty, now I'm just putting it back together. I did vacuum it out in between there, and I didn't get the vacuum really close to the inside. I just kind of held it out over just to suck up whatever dust might happen to be there. And I wanted to tell you guys something else I read. Now, I have never personally tried this, but I have heard that you can use a dime to do the same thing, like a screwdriver, use it as a screwdriver on a sewing machine. I don't have any personal knowledge as to whether that works, but you might want to try it. And if you're out of the United States, maybe you have a coin in your country that is equivalent to the thickness of a dime. I don't know. And I know these fingernails are way too long and I can't maneuver things easily. I like the look of my fingernails, but it's kind of hard for things like this. And so our creative word of the day today is sewing machine. And I would love to see what's lurking in your sewing machine. What's in your machine? Were your dust bunnies as bad as mine? Were they worse? Did you have badgers instead of bunnies? What was in your machine? Did you change your needle? You need to be good. Change your needle. Clean out the dust. Because you don't know what's lurking in there. And we all want to keep our sewing machines working as well as they can be. So our creative word of the day is actually 2 words. It's sewing machine. And I would love to hear about your sewing machine and what is down inside there. Okay, so remember when I first started this, I told you that my thread cutter, which is right here, okay, when I was using that, when I was done stitching, it was not cutting. And that is always an indication to me that there's dust under here or in the cutter. So let's see if I got all of my dust monsters out of there. I'll sew a simple little line and we'll see. Fingers crossed, everyone. Ready? Now let's see. Yay, it worked. All right, dust bunnies are gone. Cutter is back to working. Now, I know this wasn't our usual What's Up Wednesday, but you just never know what I'm going to show you. So dig out those sewing machines, give them a little maintenance, a little love and care, because, you know, they give us so much every day. I mean, we use these, and there's so much we don't think of. We don't always think to put a fresh needle in or to give them that little bit of TLC, but it's always good because a little bit of TLC to begin with can save you a lot of headaches in the end. So I just want you to have the best sewing experience that you can have. And so with that, I will tell you that I will see you Sunday, if not before. You never know. Maybe I'll pop on with a pop-up chat at some point. But otherwise, I will see you Sunday for a tutorial. And I hope you all take care. Be safe. Dig into that mountain of scraps. You know you want to. Dig them out. Let's sew. See you later.